Coming back from where I don't belong, been looking at things I don't need to see, and I've been driving all night long, trying to find my way back home, but the road keeps going. I gotta get going back to where I belong. Home sweet home.
Hi, I'm Eileen Bild. I'm with OTEL Talk, and today I have with me Gary Matheny, and he is a singer-songwriter and musician. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Eileen, how are you?
I am good. So we're going to talk today a little bit about who you are, where you're going, where you're from, and you have a new release coming out tomorrow on May 25th, 2023, and it's called Back Where I Belong. So apparently you co-wrote that song with Lee Jordan from Monticello, Georgia. So tell me a little bit about this new release you have.
All right. Let me give you a little background on Lee Jordan. Lee Jordan, I went to high school with, and he's played all over Chicago and everywhere else. And I wrote a poem back in, 2016 about the traffic in Atlanta, how bad it was. I was frustrated because I was sitting in traffic. And so I put it on Facebook just as kind of a joke type thing. And someone sent it to Lee and said, hey, man, this is great. So Lee calls and says, hey, can I put music to it? And I said, sure. So he did. And when he got through, he said, I like the way you write. If you ever do anything else, let me know. So he and I struck up a good friendship as far as musically. And he and I have done several things together. But he called me one day and he said, hey, I've got this idea for a song. He said, would you help me write it? I said, sure. So I went down to Monticello and I listened to some of the things he had. He did the music and I helped him with the lyrics to it. And he said, well, we'll just share it. I said, good. So I put it in my catalog. And when I started to do the album in Nashville this past year, I thought, I'll pull that out and see what it's like. And so the guys in Nashville, the studio musicians, I told them, I said, this is what we're looking for, kind of a country rock song. And they blew it out the door. I mean, they really did a good job with the opening guitar and the lyrics and things, coming back from where I don't belong, seeing things I don't need to see. And it's really a cool song. And everybody that's heard it says, wow, what a beat. It's got a great beat to it. So we're proud of it. We're real proud of it.
I know sometimes I'm hard to understand. Never felt I needed a master plan. I guess I'm not all that tough, but I do believe I've had enough, and the road keeps growing. I gotta get going back to where I belong. Home sweet home.
Oh, well, that is awesome. And, I think it's just great when something happens organically like that, where you don't plan it, but everything just kind of falls into place. So that's going to lead me to asking you, what age did you actually begin singing and interest in music?
Well, that's kind of a great story too, Eileen.
Okay.
I started back when I was 12 years old. I moved to another county after I got out of what we called grammar school, 7th grade. And I met up with a guy by the name of Tommy Dean who lived down the street. And he played in a little band called the Belvederes, a little garage band. And of course, back in the 60s, we all wanted to play in garage bands. And so I told him, I said, man, I really want to learn to play the guitar. So he sat me down and we learned some chords. And then we started setting up amplifiers and guitars and things in mom and dad's basement. And we drove them crazy playing Beatles, Rolling Stones, all these songs. And so I actually got to perform with those guys. And then I got into a little garage band myself, 4 of us called the Good Guys. And we played all over Middle Georgia. And about the age of 16, I met my wife, and who I'm married to, of course, 50 years. And hamburgers, movies, gas, and things like that was more expensive than those $35 every once in a while plays, So I had to lay the music down and get a real job.
Right.
So then, of course, the family came along and I laid everything down. But I picked it up when I moved to Tennessee and started writing again and playing. And that's where I'm at now. So about 6 years ago was when I started back. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. When you practice a little bit, you don't fall off.
Absolutely. And I love that story. And I always say that, once a musician, always a musician, and it never leaves you. I think it's something that's, a deep root core part of who a musician is. And I think, you talked about your new release having come from writing a poem. And I believe all musicians are writers and poets of some sort or on some level, right? It kind of comes through us and through the creative part of our personality or who we are.
World is turning, spinning round. Everything's got me down. Life is crashing in on me. The rain is falling and I can't see.
And you just seem you come across like you just love talking about your history and your current experience with music. And so you released your first album in 2020 after you picked things back up, and that was called Not Looking Back. And then you had your second album recorded in 2020 called Renaissance Man. So tell me a little bit about, what you go through as a musician in order to come up with the songs and write albums and put yourself out there.
Well, I had a guy ask me once. He said, "What does your wife think about you writing songs about other women?" Because some of them are named Juliet, Rosalie, and I said, "Well, I'm not writing about other women. I said I write about things I see or the things I feel." And I said, "I'm not writing about. The only time I write about anybody, I've written 2 songs about my wife, and both of them I think are great songs. But anyway, I don't write about anything but what I feel." And I don't want to be a one genre writer. I want to be a multi-genre writer. My first album was a little more of an easy listening pop type sound. I'm a product of the 60s and the early 70s, and that music to me was the best music ever written, in my opinion. You could sit in a room and you could hear this speaker, and this one all just cueing at different times, whereas today you don't hear that. And it just sounded so great. But I have these feelings, or I'll get an idea. Sometimes I'm sitting in my music room and I start playing a chord progression, and then I'll start thinking that's pretty good. Then I'll start putting some lyrics to it. Or sometimes I actually sit and write the lyrics out, and then I go back and find a chord projection. Now, I've got a new song that is coming out any day now that I recorded. It's about a Vietnam vet. It's called He's on a Trip. And I'm hoping to have it out so that by Veterans Day, it'll be out already and people's heard it. It was just kind of a controversial song that I had an idea. I was sitting in a little hamburger joint one day, and you hear some of the songs talking about make-believe characters. And so I come up with the idea, Alice in Wonderland, the Queen of Hearts, and Peter Pan. And so I jotted that down and stuck it away in a file, and that is part of the song. He's on a trip. He knows Alice in Wonderland, the Queen of Hearts, and Peter Pan. He's on a trip, but he's not leaving town. So it's just different things going. But the funny thing is, once you write a song like that, and my brother asked me, he's my financier and my producer, Mickey. He lives down in Middleburg, Florida. He said, "What makes you think that song's going to be good?" I said, "If I write a song and I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm singing it, I said, then I know that song is pretty good. I write songs, but I don't remember some of them right till I go back and look. But if I write one and I'm constantly singing it, then I know you might have something there. So this is one of those. I just couldn't get out of my head. Also, Back Where I Belong was another one. It was, I just couldn't get out of my head singing it. And so Lee and I feel we did a great job working together, co-writing that tune.
Well, it sounds like you're a storyteller.
Oh, I am. I love telling stories. As a matter of fact, my wife calls me an MC. She said, she says, you got to be the MC of the party.
Well, everybody has a story, and I think songs are a universal language, and it's a great way to express and share. And hopefully, the song that is about that Vietnam vet is well received, and and stays in the airplay for a good time to come, because it's important to share their stories for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about your style. You are a crossover from jazz to country to southern rock. What's your favorite?
Ooh, the more or less the easier listening pop, because it of course goes back and resembles some of the songs like America, things like that. I got a great compliment. Actually, I got a couple when I was doing my album, Not Looking Back. The guy who was doing the arranging, he told me, he says, while you were sitting here playing your guitar and I was writing down all the notes and things, he said, I could hear America in every one that you was doing. And then the other day, someone said, man, I heard your music. It sounded like you got a little bit of birds in there. And I'm thinking, this is where I'm going. This is what I want to do. But to answer your question, I think the first album I really liked, I've always thought that if I could be on a huge stage, I'd want to sound like the Engelbert Humperdinck's or the Tom Jones or something, where it wasn't the rock, but it had that great feel where you could tell a story and just wow people. So I've had my days of rock and roll, and that's for the young guys. I want the easier listening where I can just feel a story in it.
And sit back and relax and pop a beer and just enjoy. So we talked about big stage. What's the biggest stage you have played on since you picked back up?
Ooh, I haven't. That's coming, hopefully. I'm working with a group of guys that we've got together and decided we're going to try to work together. And I wish I could tell you more about it yet, but it's just not at the point of where I can. Recently, we did a production here in Cleveland. It was a country music production. It was called, as a matter of fact, I got it hung on my wall, Heartstrings. And what we did was it was started at the beginning of country music and went all the way through. And I was actually blessed to sing a Glenn Campbell and a John Denver song on stage. And so as far as the biggest stage, we had 300 to 400 people a night for 4 nights. And so I felt
wow.
it was a pretty good sized stage. Yeah. So,
that's a great stage. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll have to have you back on once whatever you've got planned coming down the road. We'll talk about that. In the meantime, you were awarded in 2022 Songwriter of the Year. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, gee, what a surprise that was. ISA, International Singer-Songwriters Association, is of course, I think you're familiar with them. They're a group of 18 plus thousand people worldwide. Brian Hedges, a friend of mine out of Knoxville, he got me into that organization. And so I, last year, was up for about 4 different categories. And of course, Songwriter of the Year is what they call the holy grail of the whole place. And I thought, well, I'll enter, but I don't think I'll get it. So when we sat in the auditorium, they have 3 categories. I think silver, bronze, and gold. When the silver came up and I didn't hear my name, I told my wife, I said, well, this category I can just forget about. So when they called, excuse me, I'm sorry, when they called bronze, I knew for a fact, and then they called gold in my name, and I went, who did they call? So it was really an honor. And of course, I was told that once you win that, the doors begin opening. And I thought, how? And no, it does. It just different things happen, different things come across now that you're the gold songwriter. And I'm thinking, this is great. I love it, But the bad part about that is that once you win gold for 2 years, you can't put anything in to be voted on. You've got to judge.
You got to judge, so now you're a judge.
for 2 years, I can't enter anything to be judged on.
Well,
I want to give it back and take the bronze and say, can I have bronze? And try this
well, it gives you the opportunity to, to share with others who now you can judge
Right.
and help them to win that gold, silver, and bronze. So, which is an honor indeed. But you're also involved with another music company, and you're up for Song of the Year in the pop category, academia music. So tell me a little bit about that. You were sharing that they have radio stations all over the world.
Yeah, Academia is out of LA, Los Angeles. And I got an email one day and had them on there. I guess once you get on and start hitting music sites, these things start popping up on Facebook. And so I contacted them and I thought, is this for real? And yeah, it's for real. So I got to look at the website and checking with a few people that they had been entered. And I entered my song Solo Dos Gatos back in March of last year, and it immediately won the March pop. And I put it in pop because I couldn't decide if it was too country, if it was pop, exactly. It's more of a trop rock, Jimmy Buffett, Kenny Chesney type sound. And so I just put it in pop, and it won. So they started popping it on their different Berkshire media stations around the world, and I've gotten over 150 something thousand plays worldwide, globally, and it is up for Song of the Year in the pop category. That the gala is going to be a virtual gala. It's going to be August 28th, I believe, and if it wins, it's going to be a door opener thing for me too. But on top of that, they sent me an email and said, "Hey, your song's done so well, we're actually going to nominate you for the Hall of Fame." And I'm thinking, wow, this is even better. So maybe two awards at one time. I don't know. So
congratulations, that's awesome. Well, hearing your story today, from when you were 12 and then you put things down and then you pick back up and all this great, like just one golden nugget after the other has happened, and I'm sure will continue to happen. It causes me to think that you just live life in the moment and you're not really trying to make things happen. You're loving what you do. And yeah, so maybe talk a little bit about how important that is as a musician, as an artist, be able to make it in the craziness of the world today, to where things, happen without you really having to try, other than just putting your music out there.
Well, the road is long and I can't think. I need a place to crash, I need a drink. I got to make these last few miles. I need to see my baby smile, but the road keeps growing. I gotta get going back to where I belong. Home sweet home. Home sweet home. Home sweet home.
I tell my wife all the time, and she just looks at me with a look, and I say, if it hadn't been for you, honey, I could have been a rock star. Because like I said, if I had to start dating her, I wouldn't have had to have a job to pay for all these hamburgers and things. So I could have been a rock star. But, living in the moment, I do. Every day is a gift, and I've been blessed with a talent, and I try to utilize that talent for good. When I first started this, I said, Lord, I'm not out to be rich and famous. I just want to use the talent you gave me, and doors have opened. And so if like I tell everybody, if I throw it against the wall and it sticks, then great, I've got something. If it slides to the floor, I'm gonna pick up the guitar and keep trying again. And it's really, that's what it is. I tell people, I said, I've been turned down more times than the sheets of the cheap hotel. Keep going back. And I just love doing what I'm doing. So I'm not giving up. If I can make it, then great. If I don't, I'm at an age to where I'm doing good. I would love to be able to, all my life I've thought, man, wouldn't it be great if my dad had been a big rock star on stage and I could say, hey, that's my dad that did that. Or my children could say, hey, that's my dad. I would love for my grandkids to be able to say later in life, hey, my granddad was a songwriter, and he was an award-winning songwriter, and he played with this guys and this group over here, and he just enjoyed life. But I try to live life at the moment. My wife is my best friend. She's my biggest fan. She had heard the good, the bad. She's disappointed me and told me, hey, that don't sound good, and then hey, that sounds really good. So I'm just in this for the long haul.
There you go, and you got a long way to go. You have some other good news that you can share. Tell me about the Carnival Cruise Line. What's the latest with that?
Oh wow, we COVID hit. My wife loves cruising. I believe she would get off the ship, wash her clothes, and get on the As a matter of
Next
fact,
one.
we've talked about when we retired, just going ahead and do cruises all the time. The best food, the best entertainment, the best accommodations. But we finally got to go on a cruise since COVID, and they were back the cruises. I remember when you got on the Lido deck and the days you were at sea, they played all this DJ spun this music, but it was mostly reggae type music. And I thought, oh, that's monotonous. But this cruise, they were playing Foreigner, Jimmy Buffett, and all of this. So I thought, that's an idea. So I found the cruise director and I went to him. I said, hey man, I'm a musician, a singer-songwriter. I said, here's my CD. I said, what would it take to get my music on the cruise line? He said, well, let me listen to it and I'll get in touch with the guy who's in charge of entertainment. So he come back and said, hey, here's his email. I told him about you. And the guy came back a couple of days later. He said, I got your information. He said, send me license numbers and all this. So I thought, well, great. So they are talking about putting 3 of my songs, which are more or less island type songs, Solo Dos Gatas, Muchas Margaritas, and Island Lady, on their catalog and putting it on the entire fleet of Carnival Cruise Line.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is wow. And so I'm thinking, well, if they play it twice a day, 3 times a week on every cruise ship around the world, that's pretty good.
Wow, that's great. And that's a testament to what we've talked about, where you just put your heart and soul into writing the songs. And I think people feel that on some level when they hear it, and on a cruise, you've got people from all over the world. So it's probably appealing to anybody anywhere.
Yeah. Well, Pamela told me with Big Records, she said, we were on vacation in Costa Rica, and she said, we were sitting by the pool, and I was playing Solo Dos Gatas, and she said, people around the pool were coming up saying, who is that? We like that song. Who is that? She said, so you're well known in Costa Rica.
Well, you're going to become more well known as soon as they start playing it, and the other radio stations that you're getting airplay on. So I have a feeling you're just going to keep growing and expanding and get on those bigger stages, right?
That would be great. That would really work out good.
I know. Well, it's a passion, and when you have that passion, people connect with it, yes. And they want to be part of it and help you to excel and find that success, right?
Yeah. Well, the way I look at life, if I can make somebody happy, then I've done my job, because I like to be happy, and I'm a high-strung guy. And when I start off telling a story, I get into the story. I'm not mundane by no means. And so if I can make people happy with either a story I tell or tell them a good morning or a song that I've written, then listen, that's great. I love it.
I bet you love to sit around campfires and just take your acoustic and play all night, right?
Yeah. Yes, I love meeting people, talking to people. I love doing most anything it is around people. So
that sounds great. So you also signed on with Big Records label company.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of a great thing too. I was looking for something to do. Of course, I've been doing my own marketing for the last 5 years. I'm in front of this computer every day, sending out to radio stations, to contests, to this, to that, to this, putting things on Facebook. I was consulting with a guy out of Dublin, Ireland for about 4 years, and he told me, he said, be on Facebook every day, don't matter what you do, what you say, as long as it's not, illicit or too political, and just make sure that you're in front. So people will say, what's he going to do today? Well, and I do zany, funny things anyway. But I signed on with Big Records back in November, and they are doing a great job. I tell you, there's some folks I really love. Cindy Nini, she is constantly. I was picking at her one day, and she says, what else can I do for you? I said, Cindy, I would love to get on the cover of Rolling Stone. And she got to laughing. She said, "Let me see what I can do." Lo and behold, Cindy's done contacted Rolling Stone trying to get me Rolling Stone. I love it. I said,
Hey,
"I love you, Cindy. You're great." And Pamela does a great job. And of course, you come on board now and doing a great job promoting. And so they're doing good and getting the things on Pierce Network and all the places. So I'm pleased. I'm really pleased with it.
thank you. Yes, it's a different world out there. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that. From the old days, the 60s and 70s to now, what do you see as, what's different? And what do you think is helping you be more successful than some others who are struggling to get out there?
Well, one thing is I hate the fact that people stream music because there's no money in it. I miss the days when people would go into a record store and pick up a record and look at the album cover and say, "Wow, man, look at that! This ought to be a good album." And we used to do that all the time growing up. I sold a Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band album for $1.50 one time, and I'm thinking, "You idiot! Why would you do
Oh,
this? Keep it." But I had albums galore because we played them all the time. Uh, but as far as the difference, nowadays, it's not as easy to get into the business. Back in the day, you could actually go in and to a record company and record a record and go to a radio station. They'd play it, then you'd become known, and next thing you know, you're the Turtles, or you're the Rolling Stones, or you're ARS, the Atlanta Rhythm Section. I came from Macon, Georgia, and there was a ton of musicians in Macon. Ronnie Hammond with the Atlanta Rhythm Section. I can remember watching Ronnie Hammond play at Little Sock Hops. He was in a band called the Celtics in Macon. And then he went on to be a big front man for Atlanta Rhythm Section. Another guy went on to be a bass player for Gary Puckett and Union Gap. Otis Redding. I sold shoes to Otis Redding's wife. And those were people that you could actually get to, and they would talk to you and try to help you. Today, the big artists, they don't want to help you. They're kind of hands off. But it's just not as easy to get out and play. People are a little more. I don't know what the word would be to use. They don't just take you in like they used to. And I miss that. I miss the days where you could be jolly and happy on stage. But now you've got so much equipment and you bring in so many people. It's just not the friendly atmosphere like it used to be.
Well, maybe somehow you can change that with
I would love to. Yeah.
all the great things happening, and take us back into the 60s and 70s and the now. That would be
Wouldn't
great.
that be awesome? I would
I
love it.
know.
If I could transport back, I would go now.
Well, maybe you and I can talk about how to make that happen.
Yeah, I would go now.
Yes, yeah. So, I think something that might be helpful. Do you have any words of wisdom for some young kids that might watch this, or somebody that's struggling, and some of the key things that you do for yourself that has allowed you to have the success that you've had?
Well, I've loved music all my life, and I guess if you got a passion for it, continue with it. Don't, and that's cliche, I know, but it's really true. If you really want something, you got to work for it, and you got to work for it and get it and deliver it, and then keep working for it. My dad, when I first started playing guitar, he told me, my mom said, "If you'll learn 5 songs, I'll buy you a guitar." So she bought me a cheap guitar, and I learned 5 songs. Next thing I know, she bought me a nice electric, and that's where it started. But I strived to learn and strive to be what I am. I'm not the best. I don't even consider myself really good. I just like what I'm doing, and I guess that carries over. But don't give up. Go forward, and by all means, not all musicians are stiff shirt and don't want to help you. There are people out there that want to help you. All you got to do is find that right match. I struggle with that because I've gone to some of the bigger ones and they just kind of poo-poo you away. And you think, wow, who helped you when you got started? So I'm all willing to help. And I've had some people call me and say, "Hey, how did you do this?" Matter of fact, I met a guy in the recording studio back about 3 weeks ago, and he's from Knoxville, and he's a country singer. And he's pretty good. And he and I got to talking, met one another, so we friended each other on Facebook. And he called me the other day and he said, "Hey, I like your website. Where can I get mine done like that?" Man, I'll tell you, I called the guy and I said, "I got your client coming to you." And so I don't mind helping people, and that's one thing that I think that a lot of the musicians have done. They just get so wrapped up in them and themselves. But I'm always willing to help if I can, and just hang with it. Don't give up. If it's your passion, play on it.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. And that's what sets you apart from many others out there. So hopefully people will reach out to you if they have questions or need some help in something. So how can people find you?
Well, you can go to my website, GaryMatheny.us. You can go to my Facebook. You can either Google Gary Matheny or Gary Matheny Music. But I had a guy tell me the other day, he said, "How can I find you?" I said, "Well, just put my name on Google." And he said, "Your name came up first." I said, "Well, there you are.
There you go.
Come
Well,
on,
that's
LinkedIn,
awesome.
Twitter, all of these things. So you can pretty much find me. YouTube, gosh, I don't know. Just look for me. I'm there.
Right. So how just one last thing, how will people be able to hear Back Where I Belong with the release tomorrow?
Well, I've got it posted all over Facebook. You can go to Spotify, Gary Matheny Music, and it's all one word, Gary Matheny Music. You can go to YouTube, same way, and listen. Like I say, if you friend me on Facebook, you're going to hear it because it's on there. I'm constantly put it there. So whenever I have a song, I'll link it out. So.
Sounds great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Gary. This has been a great conversation. I wish you all the best with all the wonderful things coming down the pipeline for you. And we'll definitely have to have another conversation.
Eileen, I really appreciate so much you having me on your show, and look forward to the release. And there again, just hang in there, folks. Indie music is going to be the music of the future.
There you go. All right. We'll talk later.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.